talk about the syzygy of masculinity and femininity. I think this type of discourse has probably the most fables surrounding it. It's probably the most misunderstood concept in the entire space. It's uh it's a concept that is extraordinarily complex and intricate in the way that the human organism deals with these types of things. And historically, if you're well read on guys like Carl Jung, firebrands, trailblazers of thought, people have devoted their life's work to fleshing out these unions of opposites because it's undeniable, even to the untrained eye, the allure and the seductive component to an individual that is fully individuated, which means that the anima, which is the feminine, and the animus have a collision, and there's a coalescence there. And when those things are functioning synchronistically, it's game over. You become a steamroller, you become a weapon, and it's much easier to conduct your destiny from that standpoint. So here's how it works. I'll tell you right now, masculinity's pretty fucking gay. As a standalone concept, masculinity on its own two legs is a slave mindset. Women are the more exhibitionistic sex. They have the freedom and the luxury of pretty much doing whatever the fuck they want, saying whatever the fuck they want when they want to. And the masculine usually has to sit there and take it. The function, and I just tweeted about this, and I really want to hammer this home. Chew on this for a second. The true baller function of the masculine, it's much better served as a shell. If you are in a masculine shell, which means you have a robust, vital, strong masculine body, your frame, your constitution is masculine, right? The hardware, the plumbing, the durability, the hardiness, the steeliness is masculine. If you download feminine software and inject it into a masculine shell, it is game over. You are hell on wheels to deal with. And the reason for that is because, especially in the modern landscape, in order to even be a conductor and be a maestro and orchestrate a proper relationship with a woman, you have to have territory, you have to have mental real estate conquered. And we all know women are the masters of psychological warfare, right? This ain't even my opinion. This is biblical shit. If you go back and it's referential, there's a reason why every religious doctrine has some offshoot quote about hell hath no fury for a woman scorned. Because even the most badass motherfuckers throughout history that were fearless, that were intrepid in the face of battle or in the face of the most Goliath enemies, every single man throughout history has somewhat had a woman that they feared more than any fucking holy man on earth because of the psychological terror and warfare that women will put men through. And so, in order to level the playing field and in order to quell that, you have to learn the psychological tricks that women have. And so, if you get a man in a masculine frame who can defend himself, who can defend his territory, but he also has the psychological wizardry of a woman, good luck. That's all I can tell you. Good luck, because you're going to fucking need it. You understand? And this archetype, this fusion of these opposites, has worked extremely well for fucking centuries. All the artists, all the types of men who walked around very aloof, very cavalier, very haughty, very arrogant, emotionally exhibitionistic, unpredictable. These men have always had women in droves to sign up to whatever fucking voyage they were on. It's unfucking deniable. And there's a reason why the block-headed motherfuckers, Let's go to the other extreme. Let's go to all the men who have been fucking psyoped into just pure, raw, unbridled masculinity. Let's look at how they're doing. The blockheads, right? The tough guys, the guys who just have no IQ, no fucking psychological underpinnings whatsoever, but they can fucking change your tire. They're good fucking, they have mechanical knowledge, shit like that. I don't know where the fuck that became this like crazy masculine virtue. Like, I ain't gonna sit here and bash like having some technical fucking knowledge. I can change a fucking tire if I had to. But like that ain't the bastion of masculinity. Just because you know how to fucking use a pipe wrench or change a fucking light bulb, that's the biggest fucking psyop of all time. Because let me tell you something. There's a more feminine man out there who's got bread who will just fucking make a phone call and someone else will fucking do it at their behest. It's pretty fucking masculine if you ask me. Commanding other men to do your bidding and to fix your shit that's broken, you're in a fucking command role. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I keep telling you masculinity is a slave mindset in many ways, because you become overly self-reliant. You become overly self-reliant. And what that does is it shuns you. It shuns you from the adventures and the thrills and the exaltations and the experiences in the world that actually kind of build that holistic male. The most alpha motherfuckers on earth have the female software downloaded in that shell. There's just no two ways about it. You can try to twist and turn this and corkscrew it any which way you like, but you're always going to land up to the same fucking conclusion. You know what I'm saying? I told you from day one, and I've been vindicated, as all heretics are. There was an account, an esoteric account on Twitter. I think her name's Anna something. She's like this very small Russian account. I think she's got like 3,000 followers. She put out a tweet this week that was identical to a point that I had made years ago on a Spaces when I told you, what did I tell you, motherfuckers? The number one thing that gives you the most power in a relationship with a woman, not money, not status, not how much weight she can lift, none of your fucking technical skills. What did I tell you? I said it's the ability to display at all times that a woman cannot deceive you, that you cannot be bamboozled. Her psychological trickery is ineffective on you. You see her coming a mile down the pike. Every fucking time you can call it out. She cannot lie to you. She cannot fool you in any way, shape, or form. That's it. That's the crux of the entire male-female dynamic. If you're in a situation and a woman actually can understand that and grasp that viscerally, she doesn't even have to be able to articulate it. But women do not like gullible men. Do you understand? Women do not like men who can be easily cheated or deceived. That's it. That's the underpinnings of it. But the paradox is, how the fuck do you think you get there as a man? How do you think you get that skill set? It's by delving, as I've told you, which is the natural theater for a man to play in. The playground for men is in the adventure realm, right? It's on your high adventures, going off into the mountains, going on these fucking treks and fucking traversing these journeys, these labyrinths, completing these mazes in life. That's a feminine undertaking, because that's what men crave. Whereas I've told you that women on the opposite side of the spectrum, women crave the masculine creation, the objects that we make, the objects that we use money, that we convert money into: Ferraris, Lambos, bling, monster trucks, cribs, mansions. Women are dazzled by that shit because that's the masculine realm. You understand? So everything is reversed. And so if you can walk around, and here's the thing, there's no prescription for this. I'm just telling you how things are. It's not like you can go back and reverse engineer this. All right? Because every fucking Casanova, suave, Don Juan motherfucker had a very rocky relationship with their mother. And that tends to be kind of nature's push. That's what sort of beckons men and sort of makes this transformation in men, where they start really understanding female psychology. If you're a male who had a very narcissistic mother growing up, and you get those rose-tinted glasses smashed on from an early age, you're going to have a leg up on everybody because you're going to understand and be able to unweave and disentangle yourself from female nature from a very, very early age. And so it is an advantage. It is an advantage because what happens is, and again, I say this morally judgment free. I'm just telling you how the way the fucking world works. Accept it or don't, but this is how it works. Narcissism, which as we know is a hallmark feminine trait, a man who's narcissistic becomes the centrifuge of his life, becomes the epicenter. You know what I'm saying? That centripetal force, everything around him literally gravitates and gets sucked into his black hole. That narcissistic personality disorder. And the reason you know that narcissism is so fucking powerful is because of all the behaviors that are studied in behavioral science, narcissism has had more tomes, more experiments, more resources, more time spent trying to crack and unveil what is going on. What is the mechanism that holds narcissism together? Go to a fucking library, Google it. Go see how many books have been published on motherfuckers dedicating their life to trying to understand and figure out narcissistic personality disorder. It's baffling. It's psychopathy, sociopathy. These other personality disorders don't even hold a candle to this thing. The amount of time, resources, and energy dedicated to try and unwind it. And if you're paying attention, you'll have cracked a grin already because you'll realize the irony that it is the most unattackable, unassailable personality because the narcissist, even when you're trying to defend against it and study it, you're still making it all about them. So no matter what avenue you take with the narcissist, you're still playing into their hands at all times. There's just no way around it. Even when you attack it, you're playing into their hands because it's still about them. You understand? So you're always in a defensive, crouched posture. You know what I'm saying? You're always strafing against the motherfucker who's narcissistic. And like I told you, don't you dare try to get cute and try to fucking behave narcissistically as a persona because you're gonna get mangled. You're gonna get absolutely mauled and mangled. These are natural personality aberrations that spawn from usually breaking the chains with family members. That's just how it works. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of you are gonna find this to be hard to chew on, but I don't give a fuck because I'm gonna tell you how it works. I have yet to meet a single interesting figure. Interesting. Okay. I'm not saying right, wrong, interesting. Who did not have to take a sledgehammer and smash the chains to their parents to pieces. Every interesting figure you can possibly fucking name has had some sort of very, very rocky bouts with their parents because that is the only rite of passage that there is. Like, if you haven't horrifically disappointed your parents, you're not even living anywhere near close to your potential. I mean, it doesn't matter how many ways you want to slice and dice it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have bad blood either. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm saying that oftentimes you have to deprogram and you have to tar and feather a lot of these downloads that are just completely antiquated and outdated. And you have to be willing to rise up and challenge those things. I know a lot of young men that are excruciatingly self-destructive and sabotage themselves at every minute and experience self-loathing and truly fucking hate themselves. There's a lot of men out there that really fucking despise who they are. And I'm gonna piggyback off in earlier spaces because it's worth mentioning again. These men don't realize that they are destroying their life because it's a cry for help. They actually want to show their parents how badly damaged that they were. They want to show their parents, look, I'm going to be the biggest loser on earth and I'm going to suffer perennially to show you, mom and dad, how badly you fucked with such an innocent, beautiful life. And that's the reason. A lot of men think that they're punishing their parents. They're somehow getting back at them by showing them the damage that was wrought upon them. And that's a very, very bitch response, because the correct response should be, you ain't going to let them win. You have to win now, especially if you're someone that comes from a damaged upbringing and you were not nurtured and you had a lot of struggles with your family life. You have an obligation to win, simply because why would you let them win? You were innocent. You know what I'm saying? Anytime there's friction between, anytime like a son or a daughter hates like one of their parents, like literally probably 99 out of 100 times, 999 times out of 1,000, it's usually the parent's fault. And it's usually because of that narcissism. It's real. I have yet to see very many cases where the kid was truly wrong in the equation. You know what I'm saying? And so you gotta really bring awareness when you're self-destructing and you're destroying your body and you're destroying your life. You really have to throw some light on this and understand that it's actually you genuflecting and bending the knee to your parents and letting the damage win. And why the fuck would you do that? Why wouldn't you push back and have that redemption arc and be able to stand tall with your chest out and be like, look, I overcame this. Fuck you. You did it all wrong, but here I am. That's the only baller response. Like, why would you let them win? You were innocent. You didn't deserve it. And that's just the fucking reality of the situation. And I think almost all of you who have extremely self-destructive tendencies can relate to what I just told you. If you really think about it, it all stems from that. I do want to open the floor. I want to see if some of you motherfuckers have the cojones. Because what I've really wanted to do actually is I want to do a deep fucking breakdown on some relationship problems. So if some of you have some crazy fucking relationship problems and you're not afraid to share the gory details, I guarantee you we can get to the bottom of it live on air. So come up. I'm going to sit back for a second. I'm going to have some other fucking soliloquies and monologues in the meantime, but I'm going to kick back for a second and field some questions. Don Shine,
Oh, my bad, bro. What's up?
let's go.
So, my question to you is, how would you define self-respect?
Bro, I don't really think self-respect is a real thing. Kind of like how
Okay.
I think self-love is fake.
Okay.
Um, I think the body and your life is meant to be sacrificed in many ways. Self-respect, I mean, look, the only reason why we go all in on health and we go all in on vitality and take care of ourselves is to expend it.
Yeah.
The reason why I think self-respect is bullshit is because think about it from this perspective. Nobody fucking gives a motherfuck how much money you have in your bank account. No one cares what your accomplishments are.
Yeah.
People are drawn to what you're willing to expend. That's what
Yeah.
people. That's what's seductive to people. No one gives a shit about your $100 million sitting in a fucking account.
Yeah.
But
That
mo-
makes
but
sense, man.
but people are drawn to what you're willing to shed, what you're willing to bloodlet, what you're willing to withdraw from the needle. You know what I'm saying? What you're willing to throw on
Yeah.
the line. That's what draws people. What are you willing to spend? What are you willing to
Yeah. That's true.
sacrifice? Everything else is complete fucking bullshit, man. Stockpiling, all that shit. You could look at that as a form of self-respect, but no one gives a
Yeah.
fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. What about like, if you're the type of person that gets a lot of cravings and you indulge in them sometimes, and you feel like guilty and shameful over it, you kind of like, you kind of feel bad over it. You know what I mean?
Nah, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. This is how this works. So in life, there's mixed bags of good habits and bad habits.
Uh,
Okay? Mixed
okay.
bags. There's only a certain amount of configurations you get to pick. Now you get to choose the bag. You get to choose the mixed bag of good habits and bad habits. And there's gonna be both in there. The
Hmm.
marbles inside the bag are not for you to play with, which means you don't get to fuck with the marbles. You get to choose the bag. So every bag is gonna have some sort of combination, some sort of shuffle of bad and good. and you got to learn how to adapt to both and make a fusion so that they work in conjunction with one another. And this is the
Okay.
problem. This is why anytime someone comes to me and they're like, dude, my bad habits, I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Let me tell you something. Every successful motherfucker on earth has learned how to blend the bad habits with the good ones. And if they took away all the bad ones and were left with only good ones, they would no longer have any thrust or propulsion to spring off of. That's how that
Yeah,
works. That's
that
how
makes
that
sense,
fucking
man.
works.
That
So
makes
you don't,
sense.
so pick the bag, but don't fuck with the marbles.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I think there's also like,
You feel
if
me?
you're,
Like,
yeah,
let
yeah,
me
I
tell you
feel you
something.
totally.
Like,
Yeah,
let me
what's
tell
up?
you something. I look. I'm not. I'll never condone porn, but there's a lot of idiots on fucking Twitter who genuinely believe that. Like, dude, I'm here to tell you right now. If watching
Okay.
porn destroys your life in any capacity, or destroys your sex drive, or makes you fucking morose, or fucking steals your energy, I don't think you had much of a chance anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
To be quite
Yeah,
honest with you, bro.
that's
I
some real
think it's
shit, bro.
I think it's
That's some real
very,
shit.
very, very overblown. I think it's
Yeah,
very
it is.
overblown.
It
Don't interrupt
definitely
me.
is.
Don't interrupt me when
Oh,
I'm
my
talking.
bad, my bad.
Listen, it's like all these habits and shit that people are claiming destroy their fucking life. It's like, brother, you like if you got to learn how to extract the medicine from the poison in life. That's like the real skill set.
Okay.
Is you got to learn how to take the poison and extract the medicine from it. And the
Okay.
best of the best all do this. I saw a post the other day. Some fucking bonehead said that your competition is extremely disciplined and the rest of the world is suffering and struggling because they have addiction, laziness. Dude, it's the fucking opposite. Every high functioning motherfucker has like 20 addictions, 20 fucking pathologies in the DSM, 20 fucking maladaptive personality traits. Like, get the
Yeah.
fuck out of here. Like, success is naturally gonna fuck you up. You're gonna
Yeah.
get fucked up on the journey to success. You're not gonna come out of that a wholesome being. That's just never gonna happen. And if you want to remain wholesome, then just don't even take that first step,
Yeah.
because in order to complete any journey, you got to go through the bell curve. You know what I'm saying? You start on the
Yeah.
left. You start on the fucking left, and you pass through the
Yeah.
middle. And the middle is the slave class. And you
Yeah.
have to pass through slavery. We all have to pay our dues. We all have to pass through that golden middle and put in the grunt
Okay.
work and put in the slave work, and then eventually you pass out through the other side like a fucking kidney stone, and
Yeah.
you're on the right side of the bell curve, and mission is complete. Bobby Fischer, what's up?
Yo, what's up, Brute?
What's up, man?
About a year and a bit ago, I found out that my dad literally was doing porn. He's still with my mum. They didn't split, and like I've looked at all those addictions, and looking back at my life, I want to ask you because I know that the drive that I have as a man to just fuck loads of women, do all this stuff, get money, smash gym. That's the testosterone, right? But when I found out, like my sister, she she found out 4 years ago, bro. Like she's younger than me. She told me how she'd found out. She tried like self harm, and I've always been pushing this positivity stuff, and like it just came up with all these demons, bro. Just like it felt like I'd manifested this at a perfect stage of my life to hit rock bottom and give me the drive that I needed. Uh, loads of relationships were breaking down at the time. I seeing that all the struggles I've had with my mother um, was due to her like codependency on my dad and not being able to, fake the emotion. So basically, how does a young man seeking to just fuck the world and just smash his goals fight back that shadow that his ancestors, his dad, I can't even look him in the eyes, but I know that I'm fighting the same demons, bro.
Of your father.
Yeah, like everything.
Yeah, so that's just an unlucky dice roll. I was talking to my homie about this the other day. What happens is a lot of times is in ancestry, there's an alternating pattern. So you'll see a grandfather will pass on a majority of the genes to a grandson, and usually the grandson, if depending on if the father was a bad father or not, will tend to try to go the complete opposite way of the father. If the grandfather was an evil villainous type of character, usually the father's response will to kind of overcorrect the other way and take the saintly path, and then the son will usually inherit some traits from the grandfather, and then he'll go opposite again. So there's like, it's like an alternating cross stitch pattern that you see in family generations. And so the whole rock bottom thing that you're talking about is interesting because look, I'm going to tell you right now, the only freedom that exists in life is at rock bottom. Financial freedom ain't a real thing. Everyone talks about financial freedom. When I have fucking hundreds of millies and shit, everything's going to be fucking peachy. Get the fuck out of here. The hardest thing in life to do is remain naked when life and wealth is going to throw all that attire on you. You know what I'm saying? Life and wealth will put a ton of attire and adornments and ornaments on you. And it's very hard to remain naked and primal when you have that abundance. You literally see this fucking every fucking day. What did Ryan Garcia just do the other day on Twitter? Intentionally tried to sabotage his entire empire and hit rock bottom because he's desperate for that freedom again. And he's got fuck you money, by the way. He's got a couple hundred milli, and he doesn't know how to handle it, and he wants to lose everything, and he wants to go back to the bottom to play the game again. He wanted to get exiled from boxing. That was done intentionally. That was orchestrated. That wasn't an accident. And because everybody knows from a primal level, the only freedom that really does exist is at rock bottom, which is why so many motherfuckers never get their feet off the ground, because you're completely free. You're unburdened. It's not cumbersome down there. There's no expectations on you. The hardest thing to do is to make it and then keep it. And that's you're not free, my friend. You have a lot more money, more problems. That shit is fucking dead on accurate. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like the more wealth you accumulate, the less free you really are. It doesn't matter what people say. I don't give a fuck if you're flying around private jets, Rolls Royce Phantoms. I don't give a fuck what you're doing. All these motherfuckers have basically denounced it at some point in time. Dan Bilzerian, that motherfucker talks about how his brain is permanently fried and destroyed from all the hedonism that he's engaged in. You know what I'm saying? So all these motherfuckers who strike it big and get everything that everybody on Twitter says they want, they end up denouncing it and wanting to go back and live a simple fucking life, because that's where the true freedom is. You know what I mean? That's why people conquer shit and then lose it all and then restart the process again. Because that is the masculine impulse. Wisdom is feminine. Storytelling is feminine. Those are all feminine modalities that men are drawn to. And in order to get wisdom, you have to go into the feminine domains in life in order to extract wisdom. That's just how it works. There's no wisdom in grinding and making money. You understand? That masculine slave work, putting in the grunt work, putting in the hours, putting in the repetition, there's no wisdom there. The wisdom is in the chaos. It's in the exotic. That's where all the wisdom lies. You know what I'm saying? So for you, I don't I don't believe in refereeing parental disputes
Mm-hmm.
at all. You know what I'm saying? If you were sired by your father, you don't fucking referee disputes between parents at all. But what I'm saying is that fundamentally, at some point in your life, you should have been able to smash those chains and go out on your own. And I'm talking like, this is what people just really don't understand, man. People like, in order to really, really become a force of nature, you have to disappoint your parents at the level to where they're worried sick about you, to where they
Wait,
are
so real
literally,
quick, if I can
yeah,
interrupt you, mate.
yeah, go ahead.
What you talked about with the grandfather to father, and then that generational uh like switch back and forth. I just wanted you to go back there if you could, because I know my dad's got a lot of trauma with his father, and that's something he always wanted to be the good dad and ended up fucking up, and in my eyes being like, you know, he was my superhero and he fucked up and now he's like the evil villain.
Yeah. So I'll give you a personal example. So my grandfather was, for all intents and purposes, a probably 1 in fucking 20 billion specimen. The
Mm.
motherfucker was an absolute fucking certified genius, Renaissance man, huge brain, multi-talented, architect, global developer, inventor, sculptor, artist, painter, huge works of art, huge works of art. A lot of movies that you've seen, especially from like the 80s. A lot of the buildings that the settings were fucking filmed on, he literally built those buildings. Huge architectural works all over the place. Built amusement parks in China. Lot of fucking global power my grandfather had. And my father, but he was also a degenerate. He was a brawler. He was a drug user. I believe he was a functioning alcoholic. He had a lot of mental issues, but very talented at his craft. Okay, my father went the complete opposite tack and took the saintly. My dad's a super devout Christian. Took the saintly road. Lives a very Christ-like life, and a massive amount of integrity, virtue, all that fucking shit. My dad turned out to be one of the biggest losers that I know personally. My dad has never had a pot to piss in his entire life. Couldn't make a dollar, didn't know how to self-promote, couldn't make a sale, totally fucking debilitated and uncephalized when it comes to business. Literally. I had to support him through many years of my life just so he could survive because the guy doesn't know how to make any money. Certified loser. And my point is, and this is kind of ties perfectly back into the first topic of the show about how masculinity is the slave mindset. He's so attached to this warrior samurai identity of minimalism and living true to himself and never bending his principles. This guy's principles never break. He's the most hard-headed, stubborn, pugnacious individual I've ever met in my life. Nothing gets through his skull. He does everything his way, but he's highly principled. And so my point is that any man who is that inflexible and that rigid turns into a loser, and the cope becomes, yeah, but I'm sticking to my truth. And so oftentimes sticking to your truth and sticking to your guns and being unwilling to bend becomes you justifying a losing position in life. And that's exactly what my father did. And then I saw the way he was, and I went the complete opposite fucking direction. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't understand the way I live at all. I'm way too fucking wild and chaotic for his style. You know, we didn't see eye to eye on anything. And so it's that alternating cross stitch pattern. And I have a feeling that my son is probably going to also overcorrect and be more of like the square type. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of how it works. Because there's just not room for too many archetypes that are stylistically that much of an outlier. Like the whole world would spin off its axis if just 0.01% additions were made to these types of characters. These motherfuckers who live from the heart, who embrace chaos, who don't schedule, don't plan things. Very hard to keep up with these types of people. You know what I'm saying? Which is why they're so attractive to women, because they're so fucking unpredictable. You know what I'm saying? But they're living from the feminine. They're living from those feminine graces and feminine virtues. They're so chaos is feminine. Chaos is feminine. We got elements. We got earth, wind, water, fire, ice, and then we got femininity. You know what I'm saying? And don't underestimate that feminine ferocity, because that shit will engulf you in flames. And so it kind of goes back to my point. This is tailor-made for this discussion, is that you want to have some of that software downloaded. You want to be able to tap in when you need to. You know what I'm saying? Because look, I'll tell you one thing right now about women, and this sounds like an issue that your father might have had with your mom. Once you give up mental real estate with women, you never get it back. Ever. That's how it works. Once a woman conquers mental real estate, you never get those centimeters and those millimeters and those inches back. Some of you are down miles. Some women come in and outstretch miles of real estate on your ass. And you ain't gonna come back from that. You know what I mean? They talk about how some relationships become damaged beyond repair. That's a real thing, and that's usually when you're playing Monopoly, metaphorically, and the woman's got all the fucking land deeds, and you got nothing left. Now what? Now what? What you gonna do now? She's got it all. She's got all your mental territory. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, bro, I hear that. I hear that. Like the last probably point I've got to do with exactly that topic, was to do with like the sort of like archetypes, and I don't know if you, I think you've touched on it before, how men can just create these like fantasies in their mind where they're just coping, but they've created, and they're they're what's the word? Escaping. That's the word. They're escaping in a fantasy, coping, like, not just watching porn, but fucking being a middle-aged man with a corporate job, working that, literally that square life, 9 to 5. Um, and it's probably because of these pools of energies across, grandfather to father, then watching his son not want to do that when he's come from Africa to the UK. So maybe even his energy levels were someone that should not be in the corporate environment. And I've grown up in the West my whole life, but I'm seeking to fuck off that Western corporate slave mindset. Not, I can understand the mindset of the man being a slave, the masculine mentality, and having to put in that graft and regardless of emotions, because that's not your progressive. Like, these are all things that hitting rock bottom taught me. So the last question I just wanted to ask is, do you think cope and fantasy is just part of your process in fucking going through the fire?
Dude, absolutely. I mean, get all the crutches and copes you can possibly load up on. 100%. I mean, it's really the only way to limp through life. Dude, the thing is, truth itself is very bleak. If you really look at the truth of any situation, it's very bleak. It's very dreary. And it's not really worth paying any mind to, because that's just why I was saying the blue pill can actually overpower the red pill in many ways, because you have to snort that shit. You know what I mean? You have to huff that shit like paint canisters, because if you the truth is not even something you can attack directly anyway. You know what I'm saying? And I'll give you a good example of this. In relationships, I know a lot of men who like to snoop. They like to have the fucking passwords to their girl's phone. They feel like they have to micromanage and fucking monitor and be a fucking warden and basically fucking deputize all of her moves and fucking hover over her. They're trying to always catch her in something. That is the absolute gayest way to seek truth. And that is also one of the best ways to prevent yourself from ever getting the real story. Because here's the thing. If a woman senses that you're that type of guy that's too overbearing and imperious, if you're too imperious with a woman and you try to control her too much, the minute she finds a moment in time to snap that ball and chain off of her ankles and take those anklets off, she's gonna fucking do shady shit behind your back. And so the best way to get truth is always to lean back and do nothing, and the truth's just gonna come to you. That's like the strongest mindset you can have in a relationship with a woman. It doesn't matter what she's doing. You don't have to ever worry about what a woman's doing behind your back, because if you just kick back and focus on what you're supposed to do, it's all gonna come to light in the end anyway. It might take years. It might take 2.5, 3 fucking years. Might not be on your fucking timeline. But I promise you, there's never been a lie told in history that has not been uncovered at some point in time. The truth always fucking finds a way to creep up to the fucking surface. It's volcanic in nature. You know what I'm saying? That Vesuvius can sleep for 12 years, but when that motherfucker's ready to rumble, you better get the fuck out the way. And that's how truth works. And it 100% authenticates my whole point on lateral. Everything in life is lateral. The more I go through life every day, the more I see how everything is lateral. You're just gonna get the truth by completing your own journey. And you know what's funny? By the time you even get the truth, it ain't even gonna matter anymore, because the journey's already gonna be complete. You know what I'm saying? I've had a lot of I'm a naturally Sherlock Holmes type of guy. I love to break down psychology. Love it. It's a sport for me, right? It's like my form of poaching. And but I'm not a snooper. I don't go out of my way to investigate things, because everything I've ever wanted to know in my life has come to me by me kicking my feet up on the fucking couch, feet up on the table, doing absolutely fucking nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's that whole quote. You give someone, if you fucking hang someone, you look like the executioner, right? But if you give someone enough rope, you can usually let them hang themselves. And that's sort of the essence of how truth actually works. You just give someone enough rope, and eventually they're gonna slip up, and it's all gonna come out anyway. You never have to fucking snoop. It's really, really, really beta, number one, and number two, you would be very surprised at how far away you actually push the truth. You know what I mean? Because women are talkers. This is what men don't understand. Women love to talk. And so if a woman doesn't have any inclination whatsoever that you're trying to pry and you're always asking your probing questions, trying to fucking figure out what she's doing, she's gonna tighten up on you and she's gonna start unleashing that psychological warfare. And what did I say before on a prior spaces years ago? I said the last thing you ever want to do is awaken the beast in a woman. You want to keep that motherfucker dormant because women do have the kraken inside them. And if you awaken the kraken in a woman, she will literally psychologically go into panic mode and hide everything from you. You'll never get the truth. But if you're a cool motherfucker and you just roll with the punches, even if you are suspicious of shady shit going down and you fall back and you lay in the cut, let her talk. Let her talk. There will be a Freudian slip. There will be a minor moment in time. There'll be a schism. There'll be a social glitch where you get everything that you wanted to know. That's multi-million-dollar advice I just gave you, by the way, because it's multi-applicable. It's not even just applicable with women. It's applicable in any scenario on earth.
Yeah, brother. I mean, you're on fire
Even,
right now.
even
Like,
fucking serial killers, dog. Serial killers out themselves eventually. They can't help it. There's motherfuckers who get away for 30 years and they start to get cute and they start sending detectives fucking cryptic hieroglyphic letters for them to solve. Like, this goes back to my fucking point, brother, that karma is not a mysterious ledger kept by the universe to punish you. Karma is your unconscious desire to punish yourself. We all know when we're doing things that are wrong. It doesn't matter if nobody else knows. You know. And because you know that you fucked up, your unconscious mind will find 1,000 ways to punish you for it. You will punish
mm,
yourself. You never get away with anything in life. You're gonna punish yourself for it. One way or another, you're gonna fucking destroy your life over the things that are hidden that you thought you got away with.
but yeah, brother. I mean, when you said about the kraken in the woman, um, and how early at the beginning of spaces, like butting heads in relationships, like having such love for my mother and the drive of fucking taking, like what you talked about, the rope. I know that all the experiences I'm gonna go through are, I'm the sculptor and the fucking clay. So what is it about butting heads with the people you love most, i.e. a mother and a son, that drives the fire, the flame? Like,
Dude, it's the molting process. It's the molting process. It's animalistic in nature, and that's why it's so hard for the rational mind to comprehend some of these concepts that I drop on you. Because
mm,
when you take away the civility of life and you look at the animal nature of things, the animal nature is separation. That's how organisms grow. That's how organisms thrive, right? It's through hunting on your own, learning how to fly. There's a reason why birds get clipped from the nest early. They got to learn how to fly on their own. If you span across the entire fucking phyla and animal kingdom, this is what's happening. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't and I'm talking about this separation is for you to evolve and become who you're supposed to be, and then you unite again. I'm not talking about, this is not a lifetime thing. You have to reunite with your family, with your loved ones, but you have to reunite with them when you don't have any, there's no detritus left of their programming. You know what I'm saying? When you have completely programmed your own mind for yourself and you're uncensored, unfiltered now, and you have confidence because you've learned how to stand on your own 2 feet, then you can reunite. And even though you won't see eye to eye, you can still stand on that pillar. You know what I'm saying? I got a great relationship with my family now, but I am one tough son of a bitch because I took that leap very early in life and I embarked on a 20-year basically sojourn through the wild in the wilderness on my own and learned how to survive and function completely from my own spirit and my own will. And I removed all the software and I deleted all the faulty programming that I had. And the only thing that's left is just my nature guiding me. That's it. But about that whole awakening the Kraken in women thing, when a woman feels unsafe in a relationship, she feels unsafe or in any kind of jeopardy or danger, whether it's you providing for her or whether you know, are fucking being persecutive towards her. Once that animal awakens in her, she will fucking scorch everything to the fucking ground. She will burn you. She will burn herself. Women have no mercy. Women will completely destroy themselves in the process as long as they can bathe everything in fucking flames. And that's why you don't want to awaken the fucking Kraken in a woman, because they'll burn everything. And it's okay to do that when it's just you two, but when you have kids involved and you have a whole family structure behind it, it becomes it's the Samson option. It's nuclear war. Everyone's gonna die. You know what I'm saying? So don't snoop. Don't fucking snoop ever. Fall back.
Yeah,
Appreciate you,
love
man.
for it. You're doing
Yep.
God's work. Thanks.
Yep. Appreciate it, man. Yo, Michael.
Yo, I just wanted to ask you how you can like properly fail in order to reach like new levels, like just how you let yourself fail and be vulnerable.
I mean, dude, it's this is like my whole ethos. Is like every huge winner in life fucked up their entire way up the chain to success. I mean, that's just how it works. Like you make thousands and thousands of mistakes along the way. Have you noticed something? This is an adjunct to what you just asked me. Have you noticed that people talk about the importance of reputation, and obviously reputation is important, but the paradox to it is, have you noticed that every standout success in their industry pretty much has a stained reputation on some level with everybody else in the industry? Like, you literally can't name me anyone in their industry who doesn't somewhat have a shitty reputation, because the sheer amount of volume and amount of shots that you got to take up the ladder to get there, you're gonna fuck up a lot. You know what I'm saying? And the ones who have the stones and the cojones to fuck up a lot are the ones who make it in the end. But then again, there's a lot of bloodshed and collateral damage along the way. So it's one of those things where you can't be afraid to make mistakes, especially if you're in a leadership position.
Yeah, and that's why like I'm a big believer in like sacrificing to the level you wish to achieve and like kind of going in the opposite polarity of what you're trying to achieve in order, let's say like if you want to obtain strength, you have to be comfortable with weakness. So I'm just curious, like, is vulnerability really that key to strength, or is it more complicated to that?
Dude, vulnerability is everything. You know, it goes back to what I've told you about wearing your heart on your sleeve, man. I mean, vulnerability is everything, because if you're truly pursuing what you desire in life, it's always going to hurt you when you don't get it. And so there's always vulnerability there. That's why I don't believe in hiding anything. I believe in showing everyone who the fuck you are off the bat. It's a battle of attrition. You know what I'm saying? I don't cater to anybody on my fucking feed whatsoever. I, I
Yeah.
don't I don't give a fuck if anyone disagrees with me or doesn't disagree with me. This is my live journal. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking to myself, basically. Like, these iterations that I do when I come on these spaces, I'm helping me, because I'm articulating my philosophy and I'm crystallizing my belief systems. So I don't really give a fuck if anyone fucking disagrees with me or if I lose followers, I don't really give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? I'm here to fucking produce art, and I do believe my art will stand the test of time.
And you
But
spoke before, like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you spoke before on like kind of like trying to like get rid of all like the brainwashing and like programming that you like had during your childhood and stuff. So I'm just like curious, like, how would you go about that? Like, just removing everything, like
dude,
all like the
it goes back
malteachings and stuff like that.
to smashing the chains tied to your parents, bro. It's literally the first step. I mean, everything in my life made sense to me only when I took that first step. And I had to fucking figure it out on my own, and I had to uncensor myself. And once I did that, I started to really get into a deep groove. By the way, that's a good question, because I did want to say I had a tweet yesterday that I think deserves expansion. I deleted it, but I basically said, we all get into a groove and find a lifestyle that we know how to live that kind of works very well for us at a pretty early age. And what happens is people love to start fucking with things that aren't broken. And I just went through this myself. When I was lifting, and I was Olympic lifting, and that was my only goal, and I was doing 2-a-days in the gym, and I was pushing my body to maximum intensity, and I was snatching 300 every day, and I was a fucking machine. I was a total fucking machine. I wasn't even human anymore. I sort of transcended the human body, and I was very machine-like in the sense that I was in such good shape that you could fucking wake me up, surprise me with 300 pounds on a bar at any given time of the day, and I could lift it. That's how fucking polished I was. But during that undertaking, what I noticed is that everything was lateral. When I was simply focused on pushing my body and lifting the way I was, it had nothing to do with the vanity metrics or the strength itself. It's that when I was doing that, everything else in my life was clicking seamlessly. I would make tons of money. Deal flow was not a problem. Women were not a problem as long as I was focused on the lifting. It was just insane. I would always have money. I would have zero deprivation in any area of my life. And recently, within the last year, I have been in sort of a mental rut. Very, very, very subtle. My resiliency hasn't necessarily been what I'm used to in the last year. And the only thing that I've curtailed is I have kind of scaled back on my lifting. I haven't done it with as much ferocity or intensity, and I haven't really enjoyed the challenge of lifting huge weight anymore. And it's completely related because I had a model that worked perfectly. Whenever I push my body and I exert myself physically to its maximum capability, everything in my life clicks perfectly. It's effortless. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to worry about money. I unconsciously just know the right moves to make. And my whole point is that like we all are usually right the very first fucking time. And then we start making revisions and we start making fucking addendums and trying to fucking improve shit and fix shit, and we totally fucking destroy our life.
So like you,
Even with diet, bro, it's fascinating. I had it right the fucking first time. I knew about carnivore like 15 or 16 years ago at this point. I was on the carnivore diet. And you see these new trailblazers popping up in the space. This guy Thor Torrance, who I happen to really like, he's pushing this low vitamin A stuff on Twitter, which literally is basically carnivore with a couple modifications, right? It's basically a carnivore base, and then he's got some modifications and shit that kind of optimize it. And it's like, for me, I went off the rails. I was functioning at my apex and optimally on a carnivore fucking diet, high fat, low carb, tons of meat for 20 fucking years. Objectively crushing it in my field, objectively crushing it in every area of my life, lifting twice a day as a natural athlete, eating carnivore. I got fucking cute. I got fancy. I started adding in raw cheese, raw dairy, potatoes, all sorts of crazy ass shit. Saw a drastic fucking change in my overall performance. And now I'm going back to just carnivore. Fucking had it right the fucking first time. Nothing was broken. And that's I was telling the first guy this. I was like, dude, the hardest thing to do is maintain the success that you have. Because you get bored and you get existential dread and you want to start fucking tinkering with shit that ain't fucking broken. Like I always had it right. My intuition was spot the fuck on from day one. And there's
you
a
really
lot of
said something that aligned with me when you said that, like when you were like lifting the most weight and everything was going like in that facet, which like obviously emotionally that was like what was like enlightening you the most. Like that was something that meant the most to you. But you said something that really aligned with me in the fact that when that was going best in your life, everything else was going best. Like me, I'm a baseball player. And when training stuff for that goes best, everything else, like a ton of other stuff pops into my life. Like I suddenly have the capacity to take like a ton of more stuff. But I always let people kind of say, oh, you have to focus on one thing. But like when my energy's high, I can tolerate like a ton of stuff. So like, what's your
Well, that's what
advice?
I'm saying, dude. That's what I'm saying is like the only fucking trick in life, the only life hack is to just be really good at one thing, and it doesn't have to be money. If you are devoted and obsessed with just one fucking thing in your life, like you need to be good at one fucking thing, and then everything constellates from that. And like people don't understand this because it's kind of abstract, but I know for a fact lifting is my biggest lever. When I'm lifting and I'm in peak physical condition, that's my biggest lever. That's my money maker. All my money, all my gambling wins, all my runs, all my biggest fucking windfalls all come when I'm in that peak state of mind. You know what I'm saying? And it all stems from the fucking lifting. That's always been my base. That's been my foundation. That's just my nature, though. I'm an athlete by nature. Any athletic endeavor I've ever done, I've excelled at. I blew everyone out of the water on anything I ever did. Played basketball, killed everybody. Baseball, annihilated you. lift you, outlift you, sprint against you, I'll fucking outrun you. I'm just a fucking athlete. And so if I don't honor that nature, I start to become a decrepit human being. Things start to atrophy in my life very quickly. And thank God I had the awareness to realize that I was straying. I was actually resisting my nature. You know what I'm saying? I was doing the opposite of the philosophy that I espoused to you guys, and I was ignoring my nature and I was cutting back on the lifting. And sure enough, everything was falling apart. Everything was fucking falling apart, bro.
It's almost like the maximal lifting was not the only thing that was maximal about it wasn't just the load, but it stimulated every part of your
Every part of my
identity to
being.
work maximally. So everything in your life would work maximally. Like, cause like I'm a big believer in like the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So like the maximal lifting was carrying over to every aspect of your life, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically.
Exactly. And the real benefit, bro, is that it wore me out. I was so fatigued and so exhausted that my mind really didn't have the bandwidth to focus on anything unimportant. That's the beauty of strength training, is it silences these critical voices in your head, and it leaves you, by process of reduction, it leaves you with just the essence of everything. So it's like the next move for me was just crystal fucking clear at all times because I'm mentally worn out. So now I'm on autopilot and I got to let the reptile brain just do all the fucking directing and driving for me. Sure enough, that shit works out pretty fucking well.
Well, also you're wearing yourself out mentally and like physically, and you're gonna reach new levels you could never imagined because of the adaptations that's going on. But also
Exactly.
like right now, I'm training 3 times a day, 2 times a day, and I'm in the best place of my entire life. Like physically, like I'm destroying myself every couple hours in the gym, but it's transferred over to every aspect of my life. So
That's beautiful, brother. Let me tell you, too, the paradox of this is that I think people have this concept very twisted. If you focus on fun, like lifting for me, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge of lifting. I didn't really dread it at the time when I was chasing those big numbers. I never had to worry about the important responsibilities in my life. The fun would just kind of take care of it by proxy. And that was always interesting to me, is everyone would always say, you got to fucking work hard to play hard. It's the fucking opposite. You play hard and then you can take care of your responsibilities from the fruits of your labor that you earn from playing hard. Because whenever I'm having fun and I'm adventurous and I'm chasing things that I genuinely enjoy, everything else just fucking falls into place automatically. Like the fun has always carried my responsibilities. But when I reverse the concept and I focus on taking care of the responsibilities first and act like a slave and worry about bills and worry about all this nonsense, it totally destroys and vitiates the fun component. And I think that's as backwards. Because if I look at anyone who's actually high functioning, who's done it, who's made a killing in anything, they were goofing around and fucking around with things in the lab, and they just chanced upon an experiment that was the winning formula, and it was a mistake. You know what I'm saying? Dude, there's so many stories of this. I saw a story on Twitter the other day about a guy who sat down at a coffee shop with a longtime friend of his, and this guy was worth like $500 million. And his buddy asked him at the table, he was like, so what was the secret? Like, what did you do to come across all this money? And he goes, Fred, it boiled down to this. It all really just came down to one trade for me. He's like, I saw this software company in the 90s and I just went all in on it and I tucked it away. Sure enough, he's like, 10 years later, I checked and it was fucking worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And you know what that company was? It was Intel. This guy was like one of the first fucking investors in Intel. And yet again, I read that and I chuckled to myself and I was like, there you go again. It validated my theory that every mega wealthy giant fucking winner was fucking around, goofing off, malingering, being a jokester, and they fucking accidentally sprung themselves into wealth in one trade. That guy made generational wealth in one fucking trade. This is how life works for men. All the big levers. It's usually a couple phone calls, a couple hellos that change your life. It's not the grind. It's never the grind. There's like almost zero that gets accomplished working hard. It's always in the chance phone call, in the serendipitous fucking hello that just fucking nets you everything. It's unbelievable how it fucking works.
it's really beautiful how like the most successful people in anything are the artists, and they're really like free thinking and creative, and like the people like who like sit at their desks and Twitter all day, like who are like trying to find the way, they can never just find it because they're too rigid. Their approach is too rigid. It always breaks.
Yeah.
right before
That's it.
like
Oh,
they
dude.
can achieve anything.
Another fucking example of mistaking your way into riches. Airbnb. You guys all know the fucking Airbnb story, right? They had a startup company that was nothing to do with Airbnb, and they got into a financial pinch, and they couldn't pay the lease on their office, and they had to sublease the office out to another entity just to survive the startup. Well, guess what? When they subleased the unit out, that became the business model of subleasing units out. So that Airbnb was a completely different concept. They shifted when they realized, oh fuck, we're earning income from subletting it out. So Airbnb was a fucking mistake. It was never intended to be that way. It was because they were in the troughs and in the fucking pits of absolute hell and despair trying to save their startup that they chanced upon the fucking concept.